Hello dear students, welcome back to PharmWise Academy. In the previous class we have discussed about the cell junctions, and in this class we are going to discuss about the cell communication. So let's get started. So basically in your syllabus it has included these general principles of cell communication. So basically what do you mean by cell communication? The cell communication is the process by which the cells in our body interact with each other through the chemical messengers. Okay, it is very important point, mediated through receptors, protein molecules. So basically in our body the various chemical messengers are released, and that those chemical messengers are they will bind to the receptors present on the cell membrane, and they will show the response. This binding of chemical substance transduces the cell signal. Whatever the signal is there, that transduces mostly in the plasma membrane, because receptors are present in the plasma membrane, and hence cell shows the change in the behavior. Means what is this change in behavior? This is response. Okay, response to the chemical messenger. Okay, now why the cell communicates? Because there are various and lots of function going on in our body, so cells has to coordinate with each other, and hence to coordinate with each other the cell communication is required. Now next, you all know this is the basic thing. Then types of intracellular signaling means, intra means outside the cell. Okay, one cell is interacting with the another cell. This is known as intracellular signaling. Signaling means nothing means communication. So we have basically four types of cell signaling. Okay, the first one is endocrine signaling, paracrine signaling, contact dependent signaling, and synaptic signaling. I think in your previous classes you have learned about the endocrine signaling and synaptic signaling, because these are the basic things. Now we shall get to know more about the paracrine and contact dependent signaling. So starting from the endocrine signaling. What do you mean by endocrine signaling? The hormones are released as the chemical messengers, that is signals. Okay, endocrine means what? Endocrine system, that is all the glands which are present. Example, thyroid gland. Here examples are given: thyroid gland, pituitary gland, hypothalamus, etc. Pituitary glands, and we have so many glands in our body present, which are releasing the numerous numbers of hormones. Now those hormones here acts as the chemical messengers. Okay, here I have discussed about the chemical messengers. In the endocrine signaling, the hormones act as the chemical messengers, that is signals. They give the signal. They travel a large distance between their glands and their target cells. Okay, here I will show you example. See, this is the example of endocrine signaling. Here what happens? These are the endocrine cells. Okay, these are the glands. For example, you take gland A and gland B. Okay, for example, you take thyroid gland, and you can take pituitary gland. Okay, for example, gland A and gland B. Now what they will do? They will release their hormone upon the stimulation. They will release the hormone where they will pour the hormones in the bloodstream. Okay, in the circulatory system. Now from the circulatory system, the blood transports the various hormones to the different target cells. Okay, where to the different parts of the body the hormone is traveled. Okay, or you can take the very simple example for your easy understanding is insulin. Okay, insulin released by which hormone, which gland? Pancreas. Okay, now pancreas act as both endocrine and both exocrine gland. Now insulin is an endocrine hormone. Now when insulin is released into the bloodstream, at the various parts of the body, the insulin reduces the blood sugar level. Okay, it increases the susceptibility of the glucose molecules to the cell. Okay, it basically facilitates the glucose molecules to transport into the cell membrane. So basically the gland cells or you can say signaling cells are very far from the target cells. Okay, they release their signals into the bloodstream. Okay, they travel a large distance between the glands and the target cells. They are released in the circulatory system. As now I said, they are slow acting but have longer lasting effect. Okay, basically when a hormone is released, the hormone should be released, and then it has to be secreted into the circulatory system, and from circulatory system it has to be taken upon by the target cells. So they are basically slow acting compared to another signaling mechanisms what we have. Okay, these are the slower ones, but it has the longer effect. Okay, examples you can give: thyroid glands, pituitary glands, hypothalamus, or you can say pancreas. Okay, in pituitary, anterior pituitary, posterior pituitary. Okay, you will be learning about in the upcoming units in this subject. Okay, now this is the endocrine signaling. Okay, is this clear? Okay, we move on to second one, that is paracrine signaling. Now what do you mean by paracrine signaling? In the paracrine signaling, the hormones are released in the extracellular fluid. Okay, what do you mean by extracellular fluid? Okay, suppose like this the cells are arranged. Okay, now the space which you can see between these cells, this is called the extracellular matrix. Okay, this is extracellular matrix or extracellular fluid. Now these cells will release the hormones in the extracellular matrix. The target cell is usually nearer. Okay, this is the very basic thing, because if the cells are releasing not in the proper circulatory system, means the target cell has to be nearer to the signal cell, or else in the extracellularly the hormones cannot travel a long distance. Okay, here you can see. Okay, this is the signaling cell, this is the signaling cell, and it is released its hormones in the extracellular matrix. Here it is releasing. When it is releasing, the target cells, which is I have denoted with A0, B0, C dash. Okay, these are all the target cells. Now these target cells has to be nearer or farther in act to response, in act to binding of that hormone. Basically it has to be nearer to the signaling cell, right? So basically these are the short range, they have the very short range molecules traveling. Okay, for example, this is the receptor, and this is the hormone. When the hormone is released in the extracellular matrix, because the target cells are nearer, the receptor can directly, the hormone can directly bind to the receptor and hence show the response. Okay, the locally acting hormones on neighboring cells is called paracrine. Okay, now for example, if this cell has released its hormones in the extracellular matrix, and this 1, 2, 3 cells, if they have received the cell, if they have received the hormone and they have shown a response, then this is called the paracrine signaling. Okay, if those who act on the same cells are called as autocrine. Okay, there are two terms in the there are actually three terms in the paracrine signaling. Okay, in paracrine signaling you have to learn about three words. First is the paracrine. Paracrine, you know, just now I have explained you, that is one cell releases the hormone and nearby cells will get attached to that hormone. The next is autocrine. Okay, now what do you mean by autocrine? Autocrine means if a cell, I think I have written, yes. Okay, you can see this is the single cell. This cell is only producing the hormone. Okay, for example, I have taken the growth factor. The growth factor is produced by this cell, and when it is released, it is also binding, it is self-binding to its own cell. Okay, when this hormone is produced, this hormone is released in the extracellular matrix, and the receptor present on the same cell, this hormone goes and binds to the receptor present on the same cell. So it is acting on self cell. Okay, this is called the autocrine. Okay, those who act on the same cell from which they have released is known as autocrine. And another term is there, that is neurocrine. Okay, I have definitely mentioned it. When there is the release of neurotransmitter in the bloodstream, from the bloodstream the messenger is reached to the cell. This is called neurocrine. For example, you have studied about the synaptic. What is synapse? Synapse means where basically where two neurons meet. Okay, neuron releases its neurotransmitter in the synapse, but in the special occasions the neurons release its hormones into the bloodstream. Okay, neurons releases what? Neurotransmitter. This neurotransmitter released into the bloodstream. When this is done by the neurons, and this from the bloodstream the target cells are activated. Okay, from this reaches the target cell, then this process is known as autocrine. Okay, autocrine signaling, neurocrine signaling. Here I have mentioned it clearly. Now next, contact dependent signaling. What do you mean by contact dependent signaling? In this, there is actually contact between the cells needed for the normal this is needed for the normal development and immunity, used by bacteria and other infections to detect the target cells. Basically what happens in the contact dependent means, here the cells are present very near to the each other. Okay, they have very negligible distance between the each other, and in this between this very little and tiny space, the signal molecule which is releases hormones. Okay, here it has stored its hormones and now it has released. When the hormones or signaling molecules are released, it goes and binds to the receptor present on the adjacent cell, which is target cell. Okay, so target cell is very near, very close to each other. Okay, when literally there is the contact between these two cells, then only this type of contact dependent cells can contact dependent signaling can be done. Okay, if you remember from previous class, in the gap junctions, okay, in the gap junctions I have said you one point, that gap junctions will also help in the cell signaling. Okay, how cell signaling? Because there is a movement of some particles I have said in the gap junction class. So this is the cell signaling process which is done in the gap junctions. Okay, that is called the contact dependent signaling. Okay, now next we move on the synaptic signaling. It is the very basic thing you have come learning from the your high school level, synapse. Okay, synapse is a point where the dendrite of one neuron and axon of another neuron meets is called synapse. The two neurons are not in actual contact. Okay, basically they are far apart. Okay, here you can see this is the axon, and you can see it is the dendrite of another neuron. Okay, they have a little distance between them and they are not in actual contact, like in the cell contact dependent signaling. The neurotransmitter, okay, whatever it has stored, it is released into the synapse, and the receptor present on the neurons will gets bind to the hormones and it passes the signal. Okay, signal is passed through the synaptic left. Okay, this is called the synapse, that is synaptic left, and binds to the receptor on postsynaptic cell. Okay, I think you know this basic thing, that the axon which is releasing the hormone or neurotransmitter, it is called as presynaptic neuron. Okay, and which receives the hormone or neurotransmitter is known as post-synaptic neuron. Okay, this is the basic thing you should remember. In the upcoming classes you should get used to about it now. Okay, if this is done, here I have explained neuron. Here is one neuron and it has released some neurotransmitter. This is synapse and this is target cell. Okay, is this clear? And I have also here explained the neurocrine. Okay, upon receiving the stimulus, the neuron, this is the neuron, this neuron releases the neurotransmitter into the bloodstream. Okay, into the blood vessel, and from blood vessel it travel along to the way to the target cell, and at the target cell it get binds and